As I dig through the PS1 library, there's so many titles that no one talks about, and a lot of stuff that people do know, but from time to time, I do find games that I've not even noticed or even heard of before, and definitely like to check those out. That's the whole reason why I started this channel. I wanted to share knowledge on games that people may or may not know, and it's always exciting to find something new. One of the best things to do back in the day was definitely exchange your games with your friends, and that was a good way to play games you didn't have or you wanted to try. And not every game was a winner, but still, it was still a fun thing to do nonetheless. N20 is one of those games. Matter of fact, it was a gift from my friend when I was a kid, and he didn't really care for it, and he's like, maybe you'll like this and see what you think. So I gave it a shot, and it definitely was something that, I thought was cool, but I didn't get very far in this game. So looking back at it now, is this game at all worth your time to check out and play? Well, I'm here today to review N20 for the PlayStation 1. N20, or Nitrous Oxide, whichever you prefer to call it, came out in 1998. It was developed by Gremlin Interactive and published by Fox. Gremlin Interactive has been making a lot of PC games since the 80s, nothing too out of the ordinary, but they have made some key titles on other consoles. They did develop the Top Gear series on the Super Nintendo, they developed the side-scrolling platform game Zool, and they also made Loaded and Reloaded, which are on the PS1. So in fact, there actually is a plot to this game, and I just found out a few minutes ago. The game itself won't tell you anything about the plot, but the manual says otherwise. So, basically, there's a bunch of bad guys on Neptune who are trying to stop, your planet and you, and there's this huge tunnel thing called the Taurus, and that's what this whole game is involved. That's the whole setting. You go through this tube through all these different areas through the Taurus, and you fight these mutated insects, and they're so mutated because of nitrous oxide. It's the same thing that fuels your vehicle, but also what makes them huge. So basically, destroy all of the huge insect guys, stop them all to save Earth. I thought the story was 100% original. I mean, geez, there's so many movies and books that have a plot like this, but it is what it is, I guess. N20, as you've guessed it, is a tube shooter, pretty much on the same level of games like Tempest or Gyrus, which are old classic games. Takes that whole gameplay formula and just kind of elevates it. The controls aren't too bad to get down. Basically, your shoot button is the X button, then you have your shields, which is triangle, then you have a firewall, which is square, and then special weapon is the circle button. Then you can also actually brake with the L1 button, and then you can jump with the R1 button, which you don't need to jump too often, but only on certain occasions. You can also change your viewpoint, and that is with the L2 and R2 button. You zoom in with the L2, zoom out with the R2. When you start the game, you can choose either one player or two player mode, and there are 30 levels entirely in this game. When you start the game, you have 4 choices of what you want to use in the tunnel, and they're called tunnel runners, of course. You have the Mantis, the Trident, Cobra, and the Angel. The only thing that's different is their stats, basically, with either the braking or the turn, and it'll show you on the screen. You can even color them and change their color to how you want them to be, so that's kind of a nice touch. When you start the game, you actually have a point system in the top left corner, which is a very, important thing in a shooter, and then your lives, which you start with about 3 or so. And then the bottom left is the insects you can kill. Each level has like a different, insect that, gets you a streak, gets you more points and all that stuff. And the coins. Now the coins, you get those usually from killing enemies or bosses, and you use those coins at the end of the level when you beat it, and you can use them to buy firewalls, which are kind of like screen cleaners, or you don't have to do that, and you can put more points towards your high score. Every 50,000 points or so, you get an extra life. So it's pretty important to do very good in this game and to get points. If you lose all your lives, well, obviously it's a game over, and in fact, you go back to the title screen. So one good thing about this game is this game's kind of long for what it is, and if you get a game over, you're pretty much done for, but you can save in between levels. So that's a good way to practice the level and get better at it as you go on, because man, you don't want to get to level 15 and get a game over and you didn't save and you're just screwed at that point. There is a password system as well too, just to mention that, but saving is a little bit more convenient. As the game goes on and on, you'll actually see different enemies too, like insects and stuff. Starts off with like beetles, and you'll eventually see like caterpillars and just really anything, like, wasps and also ladybugs. And man, I hate the ladybugs. They're so freaking annoying. After the first few stages of the game, for the rest of the game, there is a boss at the end of every tunnel, and sometimes there's a drill thing that pops out too, and those things can kill you if you hit them. They're kind of a little annoying, but they're a little easy to maneuver in my opinion. Based on what I've told you in this review so far, the only thing I gotta say is, man, you gotta get good at this game, because this game gets very hard as the game goes on. I think when I was a kid, I could only get like past the 4th or 5th level. I didn't even realize there were 30 levels until I played this game. And yeah, it gets very, very challenging. Now, one cool thing too is, I'm sure people know from this generation, cheat codes. There's actually a cheat code section you can go, and you can really just cheat completely. You can just have infinite lives, infinite firewalls. At that point though, the game just, you've already beaten it at that point. But there's always that if you just want to see everything. One of the most big things about this game that makes it very unique is definitely the music. All the music is made by the Crystal Method, and they're like a techno-electronic duo kind of group back in the 90s, and they actually still make music today, but this whole soundtrack on this game is by them, and it's pretty good. You know, honestly, when I was a kid, it was one of the hooking points of the game for me. I really liked listening to the music in the background as you're just going down these tubes and sliding down and shooting. Thought it was a nice little touch. I do think N20 is worth your time to check out. It's a pretty fun game, and it's a good tube shooter. There's not too many from this generation either, and it's definitely, you know, worth your time to check out and just play it and see what you think and have fun. Now, it's good for people who just want to casually play it to see, you know, how far they can get, or for the hardcore people, you know, and that's just the arcade style this game provides, and definitely a game lost in time that should definitely be talked about a little bit more today. For all the collectors out there who are interested in possibly wanting to buy this game is not that expensive. It's only about $15 complete in box, or a little less, and definitely worth the price in my opinion. I got my copy years ago for probably the same price, honestly. I don't think it's ever fluctuated. So yeah, definitely worth having in your collection, and if you don't collect, well, definitely play this one. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like. If you got something to say, leave a comment down below. And of course, if you want to see more content like this in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy.